Om. Jai Saram, everyone, again. So it's truly a joy to be with you all here today, and I'd like to welcome every one of you as we continue on our journey of Anveshana, our journey of spiritual growth, reflection, and self-discovery. So over the past several months, we have immersed ourselves in Swami's divine writings, exploring their depth, their beauty, and timeless wisdom. And I hope that this experience, the readings, the satsangs, the reflections, have been an enriching for you as it has for so many others. These texts, these sacred, these divine texts, are not just words on a page. They are our living, breathing guides that have the power to transform our hearts and illuminate our path. And how fortunate we are to be able to read the direct words of our Lord. Now, as we reach the conclusion of our second Vahini, Sandeha Nivarini, it is a moment to pause and reflect on how far we've come. Reading Sai literature is not always easy, and I know that it has been challenging for a lot of us, and we are stretching our understanding. And it calls for us to have a higher way of thinking and living. And in today's world, where there is countless distractions and endless demands of our time, choosing to sit down with Swami's words is a true act of sadhana. So the fact that you've committed to this journey and that you've taken time out of your busy days to read these and to show up here today and to reflect, it's not a small thing. So I do want to congratulate each and every one of you for your dedication. Today, as we seek to deepen our understanding of Sandeha Nivarini, we are incredibly blessed to have a very special guest with us. This is someone whose insights into the Vahinis have actually been a source of inspiration for me personally. I've been listening to their podcasts. They've been doing them the Vahini series for quite a few years, and they help me see Swami's teachings in new and profound ways. To now have the chance to hear them live and to engage with them in a real time is a true privilege for all of us. At its heart, the Sandeha Nivarini is about dissolving our doubts and strengthening our faith. It is Swami himself, in his infinite love and patience, answering our innermost questions and guiding us towards clarity and conviction. And so, as we prepare to listen to our speaker today, let us open our hearts and minds, allowing Swami's wisdom to settle within us and uplift us. So with that, I will now pass over to Brother Krishna to introduce our esteemed speaker. Sairam.
Om Shri Sairam. It gives me great joy to introduce Brother Sai Prakash, who's one of the senior most members of the Sri Sathya Sai Media Center. He also happens to be among those who were fortunate enough to complete their entire education from primary to postgraduate in Bhagwan's institutions. He completed his BSc in Biosciences from the Brindavan campus in 1999 and his MSc in Biosciences in 2001. Shortly thereafter, he joined the Prashanti Digital Studio, the home of Radio Sai, under the doyen Professor G. Venkataraman. He continues to be an integral part of the Sri Sathya Sai Media Center, pioneering video production, among other things. Brother Sai Prakash is a talented sitar and harmonium player and a skillful artist with a flair for painting. There's an interesting story from one of his trips with Swami to Kodaikanal of him playing the sitar to Bhagwan singing Vatapi Ganapatim, the famous Carnatic classical song on Lord Ganesha. Swami gifted him afterwards with a peculiar Ganesha pendant on a chain, the significance of which Brother Sai Prakash realized after several years as linked to his practice of the sitar. I hope Brother can narrate that inspiring story later this evening, if possible. But what a divinely blissful time with Swami it must have been, we can only imagine. He has done inspiring video series like Sai Now, bringing into the day-to-day context Bhagwan's analogies that are already the most modern. The one on Mysore Pak, the Indian sweet, stands out also since our first Vahini in Sai Anveshana was Prema Vahini, in which Bhagwan gives a beautiful analogy of how the shape, weight, and sweetness of the sweet Mysore Pak are inextricable, like the karma, bhakti, and jnana margas, the path of devotion, action, and wisdom. He has also done other audio series like Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, and satsangs like the Prema Vahini satsangs, which some of us on the team have listened to in preparation for Sai Anveshana. He is a classic example of how Swami students are so multi-talented, despite such tight schedules, and yet so calm, composed, humble, and devoted. They are ideal karma yogis, or shall I say, beacons of Swami's dictum, heads in the forest, hands in society. It's all Swami's training, guidance, and blessings. We can all take a leaf out of their lives and be Sai students, hollow flutes that he can use to blow out songs of love. I pray to Bhagavan to inspire all of us through the words of your dear son, Sai Prakash. Thanks to all the brothers and sisters who could make it for this session. I now welcome Brother Sai Prakash to share Swami's love through his understanding of the Sandeha Nivarini. Over to you, Brother Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, one and all. Am I audible? So, this is my first Zoom talk, if we may call it. And it's a very interesting topic, Sandeha Nivarini. I was just discussing some time back. It's not for the faint-hearted, and nor is it for those who are casual about what we want to listen, because in this book, Swami goes quite deep into the understanding of what each level of spiritual sadhana entails. And I think the approach I have taken for this particular talk was rather evolved through so many iterations. So what I did was, first, of course, I went through the chapters, and then I went through it again, underlining sections which I thought were important and which I thought were, connecting links, which had connecting links to the next topic. And then what I did was, I copied all those portions which I highlighted, and I realized that I could rearrange them in a particular order. So, not sticking to it chapter by chapter, what I've done is I have rearranged the selected portions of these chapters thematically. And I felt that once we rearrange it thematically, it has a certain flow in it. And when we are going through the flow, I think automatically questions will arise and certain things will get clarified, and we can just see how it goes from there. So the approach I've taken is, I'm not going to go chapter by chapter, but I'm going to go thematically. So is that all right for everybody? So because I think you've already completed this Vahini and it's only a summary session. So I thought we could do it thematically. So let us start with, firstly, I would like to congratulate all of you for the beautiful presentation on Sandeha Nivarini. I saw the PDF and very systematically done with main points from each chapter and take home lesson and what one has to practice. Well, the only comment there is, we have put only one point which we can practice immediately, but there are a million others that also needs to be practiced. And I think slowly we will get there. But very, very beautiful effort and very inspiring to see that people have taken to reading the Vahini so seriously. And of course, you all would have realized that the writing itself is so sweet, where Swami is putting himself in the shoes of the Bhakta and his own self. And such wonderful questions Swami is asking. One thing which really stood out when I was reading this book is Swami tells the Bhakta, now you can go back and come back next month. So every chapter at the end, Swami invariably says, yes, now you can go back and come back again. And I thought that was rather significant, because I don't think you have such a kind of instruction in any other Vahini. And the reason it is significant is because unless we have time to do Mananam and Nididhyasanam, see, you're listening to Swami, you're sitting in front of him, and the Bhakta who is also Swami is sitting in front of him, and he is listening, they are having a conversation. But then Swami gives them some time. Swami says, go back and come back next month. So it is basically time for him to do Mananam and Nididhyasanam. And I think so that is very important. And like most of you would have realized, in certain places, Swami is referring to the date. Swami says today is already 16th. So it looks like Swami started writing his articles on the 16th of every month. Probably took him an hour or so to finish one article. And he would give it for Sanatan Sarthi. I mean, these are such wonderful tidbits that you can get by reading this Vahini. And let me start off with one of the concepts that is brought out in Bhagavad Gita, which most of you will be knowing. It's about Gyatum Drashtum Praveshtum. And that is, Gyatum is to know, Drashtum is to see, and Praveshtum is to enter into. So this is from a shloka in chapter 11, 54th shloka in chapter 11, where Krishna says, Bhaktyatu Ananya Shakya Aham Evam Vidorjuna Gyatum Drashtum Cha Tatvena Praveshtum Cha Parantapa. Means he says, only through bhakti you can reach me. But it has these three steps of Gyatum, Drashtum, Praveshtum. So today's session, I thought we will divide it into two sections. Gyatum and Drashtum, that is to know and to see, is one section. And Praveshtum is the second section. That is, what do we have to do? Having known this, having seen this, what do we have to do? And all these points are covered in these chapters from chapter 9 to what was the last chapter?
17.
17, right?
17.
Yeah, so 9 to 17 is where Swami has brought out all these points. Let's start off with, there's a beautiful analogy which Swami gives in one of his discourses. He says, spirituality is like climbing a ladder. So, you know, you're having step by step, you're growing step by step. But what is very important is, before you take the first step, you should be aware of what the last step is going to take you to. Where the last step is going to take you to you should be aware of that before you take the first step. And equally important is, after knowing where you're going to reach in the last step, you have to reach it step by step. You'll have to take the first step. So both are important. Knowing the goal is important, and then going there step by step. So I think this is what I'll try to bring out in this discussion, because in this section of 9 to 17, Swami has got varied topics, as you can imagine, as you all know and you have read. So I have recategorized them, as I mentioned, and brought it out in a particular flow so that we understand what Swami is conveying. So jumping right into it, one of the most important things is the interest that we should have in these spiritual topics. So Swami says, what is important? In fact, in this Conversations with Sai Baba, recorded by Dr. John Hislop, he says, Swami, why are we not getting ultimate realization? How do we go about it? We have been listening to your talks, etc. What is missing? Swami says, how do you go about doing anything else in life? It is the interest. It is the interest that you have that drives you to do it. So similarly, in these matters of spiritual growth as well, it is the interest that we should have for these topics. And that interest will in fact drive us. So one of the very early experiences which I had was in our class 10th, when we were in class 10. Swami called us for a class interview. So we were about 27, 28 of us. And because we had to face the board exam, we thought we deserved a class interview with Swami. And Swami obliged after a lot of prayers back and forth. And early in the morning, the first question Swami is asking, 10th class students, what is the purpose of life? So the first question Swami is asking is, what is the purpose of life? And like we were discussing, we may not have understood what Swami said. We may not have understood anything that he has given in his discourses. But as time goes, if our interest persists, slowly the meaning will dawn on us. And I think we will slowly understand everything that Swami is trying to say. So the first topic is creation. So let us first start with what is the mystery behind this creation. So if we were to ask a few relevant questions, what is the mystery behind creation? Who am I? Why am I deluded? What should I do? If you think these are the 4 questions that we are trying to answer in today's session. And if you see what is the mystery of creation, here Swami says, if you take a seed and plant it, this is from chapter 9, the Supreme Soul. When you plant a seed, it suddenly starts sprouting. And he says it shows two activities. That is, it shows activity and it manifests from that. And it changes into a tree form. So there is a change, parinama, and there is an activity, vyapara. So he says these 2 things happen from the seed. And we may think, what is in the seed? Where is God and how is he related to the seed? Swami says the seed is growing on its own. God is the seer, the drashta. He is completely apart from Prakriti or the creation. So on one level, you're seeing the seed sprouting and growing, and we think that that is the creation or that is Prakriti, but God is away from it. Now, what does it mean that God is away from it and is looking at the seed? These are things we'll explore today. Swami says, let us go into what is the nature of Purusha. This is again from the chapter 9. Swami says that Purusha and Paramatma are different. And every single thing in Prakriti or every single thing that is created and manifested is yearning to join back with the Purusha or the creator. And this is the significance of the Shiva Shakti union. So what does it mean that an element or a conscious element from the creation is trying to get back and merge with the Purusha or Shiva, Ishvara Tattva? How does it happen? What does it mean by saying that this has to merge into that? These are again things which we'll explore today. What is the relationship between Purusha and the creation? If we were to go, this is from a paragraph in chapter 10, where Swami is giving a very beautiful analogy. He says, look at the sun. Now the sunlight is reflected in a small pot. It's reflected in a broad river. It's reflected in a mirror. It's reflected in different places. But when the pot breaks, is the sun upset about it? Will the sun stop giving its light when the pot breaks? That is not true, because the sun continues giving its light. And when the pot is there and it is able to contain water, you see the reflection. When the pot breaks, the sun is unaffected by that. And that is what Swami says, the Lord is the sun. And we are, because we have wrongly identified ourselves with this body, we are like the pot, limiting ourselves, limiting our capabilities. And we think that the sun is shining in us. But once the pot breaks, the sun is not affected. It is shining nevertheless. So Swami says that as long as we identify ourselves with the body, we are like this small pot. Yes, it is a bit abstract, but what should we imagine if we do not imagine ourselves as the body? In fact, I think some of you might have heard the beautiful Shravanam Mananam Nididhyasanam series we did on the 1990 summer showers. And that was an eye-opener for all of us, because the way Swami brought out these very, very deep spiritual concepts step by step. So he started by saying how you are not limited to this body, how you are not limited to the senses, to the mind, to the buddhi, and what you really are is Atman. So I think that is a set of 16 discourses which are a must read for anybody who is serious about understanding these topics. The Swami goes on to say that in the Dakshinamurti Stotram, there is this first line which says, Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantar Gatam. So he says the whole world is like a city seen through a mirror, but that mirror is located within oneself. Now, this is a very, very interesting analogy. So what does it mean? So you have God on one side, you have a mirror on one side, and you have the reflection in the mirror. Now, I don't know if some of you have seen, we had done from the Media Center another special video on Maya. And that video, we discussed one of the very, very important way of presentation. That is, Swami says 3 minus 1 is equals to 1. So any mathematician will have a hearty laugh. But Swami says in spiritual parlance, 3 minus 1 is equals to 1. Now, what does this mean? He says there are 3 things. One is the object, that is the Lord, that is 1. The second is the mirror. And the third is the reflection in the mirror. So the mirror is equals to Maya, and the reflection in the mirror is what we refer to as the individual soul or Jivi, or the creation, Prakriti, whatever it is. Now, the moment you remove the mirror goes and the reflection goes, because there is no more mirror. Only thing that remains is the object. So let me repeat this again, because this particular understanding is the basis of everything that we are ever going to discuss in today's talk. And whenever you go into, this is the fundamental basis of all spiritual understanding. That is, God is the only object. The mirror is Maya or Avidya or whatever name you call it. In this mirror, you get the reflection, which is Prakriti or which is Jiva, or anything that appears to be different from the Lord is only a reflection. There is one segment in this section which we will come to about Maya, I think, which we'll come to next, which is very interesting. And this is the reason where Swami is explaining about Maya. This is a point which I have not read anywhere else. And I think that explains why we all are so confused about the real identity. So Swami says, this is what it is. 3 minus 1 is equals to 1. So going further, Swami says, what is this Maya, or what is this mirror in which the object's reflection is distorted? See, because the moment you have a reflection in the mirror, it is not exactly the reflection of the Lord. And that is why we are under the delusion that the reflection is independent, the Lord is independent. The moment the reflection is absolutely faithful to the Lord's image, then there is no confusion. There is only oneness. So, or the moment you remove the mirror of Maya, then there is only the Lord. There is only the reality that remains. So, Swami says, this Maya, there's another name that is called Ajnana, Ajnana Shakti. So, this is from chapter 17. So, like I told you, I'm jumping between chapters, but it is good for the flow of the concept and the theme. So, Swami is talking about Maya here. And he says, Ajnana Shakti. He says, what is this Ajnana Shakti? Ajnana Shakti, or the power of ignorance. This is the power of ignorance. So he says, when there is a rope, you think that the rope is actually a snake. It is the power of this ignorance which projects the snake on the rope. So the power of ignorance is such that it projects the image of the snake on the rope. And then Swami gives something very interesting. He says that same power of ignorance is what projects this entire creation on Brahman as well. So the Lord, who is the creator of this entire creation, on him also this power of ignorance exists. Rather, he willed it, so it exists within him. So that is one of the reasons why it is very confusing. In fact, in the same chapter, the Bhakta is asking Swami, it is said that avidya is anadi or beginningless. Isn't it? Swami says, yes, it is beginningless because it is a part of Brahman. And this is the point which I was mentioning to you. He said that, but Maya alone has no explicable origin. It is its own proof. It is there in Brahman from beyond and beginning. It is Anadi. No cause can be given why it has manifested itself so luxuriously in creation. This is a very, very unique point, which Swami is saying that right from the time of creation, Maya has come along. But why Maya has come? Nobody can answer this question. What is the reason Maya has come? And nobody can say why it has come. What is the proof of Maya? But Swami is saying right from the beginning of creation, Maya is there. And he says there is no cause can be given why it was manifested. So this is a very, very interesting point. So there is no direct approach to God is only when you acknowledge the presence of Maya, because Maya exists. And how do you overcome it? I think that is the whole challenge in front of us. How do we acknowledge Maya and how do you go beyond it? So then there is this another section in the chapter 17. How does Ajnana produce samsara? So Swami is saying that this Ajnana or Maya is what is creating this entire samsara. And how does it do? By two ways it does. In fact, we had done one of these videos as a discussion, again, based on one of the 1990 Samasha's discourses. It's a process called Panchikritam. And I'm not sure how many of you have seen that video. It's a discussion we have presented between Brother Ganesh and myself. We had done it based on a discourse which Swami had given in the 1990 series. This explains how the entire creation came about. And Swami gives a very, very scientific approach to how each of the 5 elements, they undergo modifications based on permutations and combinations. They exhibit the 3 gunas. So the 5 elements in the Sattva guna gives rise to certain things. In the Rajoguna, it gives rise to certain other things. So it's a very, very interesting and a very, very scientific explanation for how creation has come about. But in Sandeha Nivarini, Swami explains this with two aspects. One is Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti. So in the 1990 series, if Swami explains these 3 as the faults that the mind can have. Mala, Vikshepa, Avarana. So what is the meaning of Mala, Vikshepa, Avarana? Mala is when dust is covered on the mirror. So suppose you have a mirror on which you're going to see your own face and your face's reflection. If the mirror is covered with dust, you cannot see your reflection. Vikshepa is constant shaking. If the mirror is constantly shaking, you cannot see your reflection. Avarana is if a thick black cloth is covered on the mirror, then again you can't see your reflection. So Swami says these are the 3 shortcomings of the mind. And very beautifully Swami explains Mala, that is collected, all your karmas and all your deficiencies collected from births, that can be removed by karma marga. You can keep doing good actions and slowly you're cleaning the dust off the mirror. Now, Vikshepa, which is constantly shaking, the mirror is constantly shaking. Swami says that you can calm down by bhajans and bhakti marga. By doing bhajans and bhakti marga, the mind slowly settles down. It is not agitated. It is not shaking. And avarana is the thick black cloth. Swami says that cloth is the cloth of ignorance. And only by jnana marga, by inquiry, you have to inquire, what is this? What is this creation? Who am I? Once you have this inquiry, then that will help you to remove the dark cloth. and that is avarna. So these three problems of the mind, Swami says, are actually used in the process of creation. So because of the avarna shakti and the vikshepa shakti, Maya is able to create. Maya is able to create an image which has quote unquote an existence of its own. See, now we all are in this world. We are convinced that I am hitting myself because of my own will. And we think that we are independent of the Lord. I'm sure some of you must have heard this beautiful incident. One of the students asked Swami in the interview room, Swami, if everything is being done based on my will, where does God's will come into effect? If I want to slap myself, I'm slapping myself. Where does God's will come here? And then Swami says, no, it is not like that. You have to understand that everything that you are allowed to do is because God's will is in line, or your will is in line with God's will. And then Swami tells the student, okay, let us, he says, Swami, I don't understand. And Swami says, let us, he was sitting with his folded hands, and Swami says, lift one of the hand. So he lifts one of the hands, and Swami says, now put it down. So he puts it down, and Swami says, see, this is an example of when you want to lift the hand. I've told you to lift the hand, and my will is also supporting that action of yours. So you are able to lift your hand. Swami says, now you lift it, and try as much as he may, he's not able to move his hand. Then Swami says, see, here you want to lift, but God's will is not there. So, you know, it's a very, 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 very subtle concept where God's will is present with us, where God's will is, where we have a sort of quote unquote choice to do a decision. From my understanding, I would say that any action that we take up or anything that we do in line with our duty, see, the duty of water is to flow down. If the water suddenly says, no, no, I don't want to flow down, I want to fly up, then it's trying to do something which is against its duty. So then God's will is not with it. But being a human being, suppose we know what is our duty, the more we want to do actions along in sync with our duty, God's grace and God's will always is there with us. So I think that is where we will stop that discussion, because I was just saying that because all these manifestations that you see are because of this Avarana Shakti and Vikshepa Shakti, which Maya is having. And because of that, it is able to create this beautiful world. And we think that, oh, we have an independent existence, but it is just an illusion. So that is what Swami brings out in that segment. And then he says, okay, so we are talking about Maya, we are talking about Avidya Shakti, we are talking about Ajnana. Where does this I come? Now I'm going to a section from chapter 10, Nature of Atma and Your True Nature. And I think the chapter's name is Reflections on Manifesting and Merging. So he says that I, which we all have, which we all hold so dearly to ourselves, he says, as long as you identify that I with the body, you're going to have all the restrictions. When you start identifying that I with the Atma or the Paramatma, then suddenly all this illusion and Maya and ignorance vanishes. So that is what Swami is saying. Swami is saying, here, in fact, this was one of the questions that one of your youth had asked, where they said that the Bhakta is asking Swami, if Atma is in everything, what happens to a corpse? Is the Atma present even in a corpse? And how do you understand this? And then Swami says that the Atma is quite beyond and different from birth and death. So that is something very, very important that we should contemplate upon, because the Atma is not affected by duality. It is beyond this duality. So you have birth, you have death, you have joy, you have sorrow, you have all these dualities. But is the Atma affected by all that? No, it is beyond all that. So because it is beyond all that, and it is present in, see, fundamentally, Atma is an infinite potential of power. If we were to take it like this, Atma is something which has infinite potential. When it manifests, you get matter. So you get matter, you get prakriti, you get manifestation. So even in a dead body, the atoms still persist. So as long as the atoms are there, as long as matter is there, the Atma is present as well. So I think that is what Swami is saying, that the Atma which you think is, we equate it to the Jiva. We think the person who is alive, the Atma is in him. The moment a person dies, the Atma leaves. In fact, I think the common term that Atma has left is not right, because the Atma never comes, the Atma never leaves. The Atma is present all the time. I think it is just the individual soul that merges back into the infinite. So Swami is saying here that the sense of I, he says, is very, very important, and that aham vritti. So when that aham vritti dies, that is what we refer to as death of a particular individual. And again, it goes into the next form, and it is born again. So Swami says, but the Atma that we are talking about is beyond birth and death. So it is present in everything. He says, you have to understand that I is not the body, but that I is the base. He says, you are only the base for the change, the vritti. You are not the vritti or the change. See, what is the vritti? Vritti is actually changes. So birth, death, happiness, sorrow, all these things are vrittis or changes. Swami says, you are the base on which the changes are happening. You are not the change itself. So I think that is a very, very important and deep concept that we have to think about and we have to contemplate upon for a long time. It's not going to come so easy, because every time we equate ourselves with this body and we think that we are the ones doing this, we are the ones doing that. Now Swami says, when you are the base, the vritti, but why is it that we are deluded? How did this delusion come about? And this is a segment from chapter 17, where Swami says, how do you dream? When do you dream? What is the primary cause for dream? The primary cause is you falling asleep, isn't it? Only when you fall asleep, you can dream. If you do not fall asleep, okay, daydreams apart. So like a proper dream, I'm talking about a proper dream. So when you fall asleep, you get a dream. So Swami says that sleep is equivalent to ignorance and ajnana. So when you are filled with ajnana or ignorance, you do not see the light or you do not see the reality. And he says that when there is no dream, there is no delusion. Here there is a very beautiful incident from the life of Ramana Maharishi. There is a very interesting conversation which Ramana Maharishi had before he came down and settled in his ashram, which is, as we know, the Ramana ashram now in Tiruvannamalai. He was staying on the hill in Arunachala, and he was staying in a small hut on the hill. And that is in the early days. And one of the very elderly Swamijis came there, and Ramana Maharshi was more or less silent. He was not speaking at all. And he asked him certain questions, and Ramana Maharishi gave answers, very terse and very simple answers he has given, and which have been compiled into a book called Ullad Narpad, means 40 questions. And that is Who Am I? Who Am I is the book in which these 40 questions are there. And one important question that he asks in that is, what is the difference between the sleeping state and the waking state? So the question is, what is the difference between the sleeping state and the waking state? And Ramana Maharishi says, one is longer, one is shorter. And then the next question is there any other difference? And Ramana Maharishi says, no. So what we understand from this conversation is, when you are sleeping, you are in one state of ignorance. When you are awake, you are again in that state of ignorance. It is not that when you are awake, you are out of ignorance. This is a waking sleep, that is a sleeping sleep. So only when you wake out from ignorance have you truly woken up. In fact, there is this very interesting conversation in Conversations with Sai Baba with Dr. John Hislop. And he says, Swami, if everything is a dream, if everything is unreal, we all are unreal, the whole world is unreal, you are also in this world. You are also unreal, isn't it? Then what is your role? Why have you come? How do we understand this? Swami says, yes, this form that you see is also unreal. But I am like the dream lion. With my roar, I wake you up from your dream. That is my purpose. So Swami has said that I am like a lion that comes and roars and shakes you up from your ignorance and wake you up into reality. That is my role. So, so beautiful it is. It's a simple, fundamental for anybody who is on the path of inquiry. It's a very, very fundamental concept of sleep, deep sleep, and waking states. And this you will find reference to these in many of the spiritual literature, including Adi Shankara's several works, because it's very simple to understand. When you're awake in Jagrata state, when you're awake, your senses are active, your mind is active, your body is active, your buddhi is active, your atma, everything is active. But when you're sleeping, what happens? Your senses are closed. There is no input into your senses. Your body is not moving, but your mind is active. Your mind brings about such wonderful creations, such, you're living in some other parallel universe. You're flying, you're going into the oceans. You've had so many different experiences in your dream. But when you wake up, you say, oh my God, that was a dream. Or if you had a bad dream, you say, thank God it was only a dream. So the question is, who is it that is constant when you're awake and when you're asleep? Now we talk about the third state, that is deep sleep state. So when you're deep sleep, who exists? Who is experiencing that deep sleep? And then when you analyze this, you realize there is only that I which is constant, which is present in the waking state, in the dream state, and the deep sleep state. So we have to hold on to that I, and that is what is going to give us our true identity. So anyway, so that was about the I. And going further, Swami is talking about this delusion of the samsara that we are caught in. Swami says, he says it is because of wrong identification that we all have. We see a tree with 3 stumps and we think it's a man standing there. Like, we see a snake and we think it is, we see a rope and we think it's a snake. And the delusion that we are having is that the jiva or individual soul is actually separate from Paramatma or divinity. So the whole idea that we think that we are separate from God is the illusion, is the ignorance. How do you remove this ignorance? First, see, if you understand, if you have read some of the spiritual literature, nowhere else, nobody can mention about what is the experience of the one who is realized, because it is beyond words. You have heard the quote, often quoted, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. Means that is a state where the mind and the senses try to go, but they return. The mind and the words, they go trying to explain that state, but they return saying, sorry, boss, it's beyond my scope. The words and the mind cannot describe that state. And because the word and mind cannot describe the state, aprapya manasa saha, it is beyond the mind. So in every spiritual literature, you will find that only the thing is neti, 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 not this, not this, not this. But what it actually is cannot be put in words. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham nacha shrotra jihve nacha grana netre nacha vyoma bhumir nate jonavayu chidananda rupa shivom shub. So na punyam, na papam, na saukyam, na dukkham, everything is neti, neti, neti. I am not this, 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 I am beyond both the dualities. But what I am really, that cannot be put in words. That can be only experienced. You are given a title like Shivoham, Shivoham, but it is not adequately describing that state. So that's what Swami is saying. We are in the delusion thinking that the jiva is separate from God. So that is the delusion. And what is causing this delusion? Like we discussed, it is this maya or the mind. So in chapter 11, Swami is talking about the mind. And he's saying, what is this mind? The mind, put it very plainly, is a bundle of thoughts. And he says, once you understand this bundle of thoughts and you understand what is the basis for this bundle of thoughts, once you hold on to that I, the mind will dissolve. And there is a very, very detailed section in chapter 11 about what are the obstructions of the past, present, and future. I'm sure you all have read that. And where Swami says, it's a very technical subject. I'm not going into that. But Swami gives a very, very interesting analogy, and that is of the cinema screen. So why is it that we are seeing diversity? Why is it that we are seeing so much multiplicity when there is only oneness? If you were to go into the cinema analogy that Swami gives, he says there is one white screen and there are several images and photos being projected on the white screen. That is because the film passes in front of a light. There is a source of light and the film passes. So now what Swami says is, there is a small slit through which this light is passing. And because the light is passing through a small slit, you see so many colorful images on the screen. He says that small slit is the mind. So if the mind, which is filled with ajnana or ignorance, you see the world through this mind which is filled with ignorance, you see multiplicity. You see so many colorful things. You see diversity. You see duality. The moment that whole becomes big and you flood it with the light of the Atma, you don't see the image on the screen. You see only white light. Imagine if the film burns or that projector, instead of a small slit, it's a big hole. What will come on the screen? Only white light will come on the screen. So it's a very, very, very beautiful analogy, and it's a very important thing for us to keep in mind, that when the mind is filled with ajnana, you see diversity and duality in the world. And that is what is projected in different images. But when the mind is purified, and when the mind is purified and you have only the energy of the Atman through it, then you see only that one light in this entire creation. So I think we are already at 8:56. And what is, should I continue or?
Yes, please. We have nobody's posted any questions for us from the group. So yeah,
Okay.
continue, and then we'll let you know if we have.
Okay. So I can continue? Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, yeah. So then again, coming back to a section from chapter 10 on reflections on manifesting and merging. Swami says, ultimately, now we are talking about the mind, we are talking about the nature of the mind. Swami has said that the only purpose of all spiritual sadhana is purity of mind, chitta shuddhi. So what is the meaning of purity of mind? The purity of mind means when the mind is thoughtless, when the mind is pure, means it is thoughtless. Basically, when there are no thoughts in the mind, that is when the mind is purified. And all spiritual sadhana that we are ever doing is to purify the mind. Now, purity of mind is the ultimate state of sadhana. But what is the ultimate state when you reach realization is when the mind is destroyed. So go back to that analogy of 3 minus 1 is equals to 1. When you take the mirror and smash it down, the mirror of the mind or the mirror of Maya, you take it and smash it, the mirror no more exists. That is when you have, mano nashanam, you have destroyed the mind. One moment you destroy the mind, only that divinity remains. So that is what Swami is telling in chapter 10. And the same thing Swami is explaining as to what is mukti or what is liberation. There is a Jivan Mukta, there is Videha Mukta. These are all technical terms. I'm not getting into these technical terms because ultimately Swami is saying when that sense of I is realized, that is what is moksha. And he says renunciation is the true hallmark of moksha. This attachment, raga, damages the bliss of Jivan Mukti, but Jnanam is most important for Videha Mukti. So these are all again technical terms. Renunciation is the hallmark of liberation. So I think this is something we should really look at people, look at Bhagwan, look at the great sages, saints, who are living examples of realized souls. How do they lead their lives? So in fact, there is a very beautiful section here where Swami says, how does the Jnani see this world? He sees this whole world only as Brahman. He sees there is nothing different from God. He sees everything as Brahman. And if you see how Swami has led his life, you would find that there's absolute renunciation in every step of the way. He is completely involved in a particular thing. The next moment is completely detached. He gives us 100% into something. The next second he is completely detached. So I think that is a very, very important ideal which we have to really try to learn, because we get into a particular thing and we are so attached to it and we are so bothered about how will it turn out, will it do good, will it not come good. So all those things are, he said, then you are not a realized soul, you are not got moksha. And there is this beautiful section in chapter 17 where Swami is talking about Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, and how he says they are three aspects of the ultimate Brahman. So the three Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva are basically the three department heads of creation, sustenance and destruction. And Swami again compares them to the gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And if you notice, if you have read the Bhagavad Gita or if you have read the 1990 summer showers, you will notice that Swami and Krishna always talk about gunas at the very end. The Sattva, Rajas, Tamas gunas are the most subtlest aspects of our spiritual existence. So, in order to refine ourselves, we have to move away from Tamas, we have to come into Rajas, move away from Rajas and go into Sattva. And it is the gunas which have always been spoken of at the end. be it Bhagavad Gita or be it the 1990 Summer Shower. So Swami says, as long as you are within the grasp of the three gunas, it is not possible for you to get moksha or liberation. So this is the first section of what I had thought of, that is Gyatum and Drashtum. That is, these are concepts which we are trying to understand from these chapters. We are knowing what it is. And the second portion is Praveshtum. Having known all this, what is it that we need to do? What should we do? Maybe because it's already 9, I will go at a lightning speed and see if probably miss out a few more of these points. But it is very, very interesting. And, you know, these topics are not something like what is the cost of fish. So you cannot talk about them very fast. You have to be deliberate about it. We have to have time to think about it. We have to contemplate on it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a tick mark in a notebook saying, yeah, we have done this Vahini and we have done this satsang. Now I know all about it. So it is not going to be so easy. And I think it is very important to go back to each of these Vahinis again and again, again and again, again and again, because only then something will sit inside our minds. Otherwise, it's just going to come and go. First of all, why should I bother about Atma? Why should I bother about Avidya? Why should I bother about Maya, etc.? I have my job to do. I have to go and earn money. I have to lead my life. So that very first interest, why do we have to get into this? That is something we have to be very clear about. Each one may have their own reasons. Someone may be dejected with life, so they may turn to spirituality. Someone may be very happy in life and they may want to know what is going to give them lasting happiness. Someone may be very spiritually inclined and very, very honest with themselves. See, spirituality calls for absolute honesty. When you ask a question to yourself, am I really and truly happy with what I'm going through? You have to be honest. If you really believe that leading this worldly life is what is going to give you happiness, you are never going to touch a Vahini. But if you have touched a Vahini and if you say, oh my God, there is something in it which I do not know, then something has pulled you to that Vahini. So I think, first of all, we have to sit and try to understand what is it that is drawing me to study a Vahini. That itself is an exercise which we have to do. Why do I want to study the Vahini? Why do I want to understand what is Baba's message? So I think that itself is a very big exercise you have to take up. So let me just touch a few points on Praveshtum, or what is it that we need to do. In chapter 16, Swami, in that chapter where Swami is talking about meditation, he says, what is it that we need to seek? He says, don't seek for the drop in the ocean, seek the ocean itself. Don't limit yourself to seeking something. Swami used to say very often, low aim is crime. Do not aim low, aim for the ultimate. But you have to be ready to give your everything for that ultimate. And very nicely, Swami says that when you start off on a spiritual journey, don't think that, oh, I have to give up my home, I have to give up everybody, I have to give up my family, I have to go and sit alone, I have to do meditation. No, that is not what Swami wants us to do. In fact, Swami says, your mother and father are your first gurus. Then your guru is your guru, and then the Lord comes. There's a very beautiful incident from the book Sri Sathya Sai Anandadayi, where Swami's, there's a young sannyasi who comes. And he comes and he says he's worn the ochre robes and he has apparently given up his family and he is going to the Himalayas and he wants to pursue meditation. So having heard about Swami, he comes to Parthi to seek Swami's blessings. And Swami says, first you remove this orange robe of yours. Get back into your plain clothes. Because your father is no more and your mother is alone at home and your every tear that your mother is shedding is wiping away any possible good punya that you can ever acquire. By putting our family members in trouble, there is no spirituality we are going to achieve. So Swami says that we should understand what this right spirituality is. You have to serve your mother, you have to serve your father, you have to serve your guru. Then only you can come to the Lord. So he says, don't be in a hurry. Don't try to do anything drastic. Such a sweet advice. He says, don't try to do anything drastic. Go step by step. Always remember, yes, you should know where the ladder is going to reach you, take you to, but you have to reach there only step by step. So one such step is karma, and we all know that karma marga is very important. Swami says that karma is very important because nobody can sit idle without doing karma, without doing action. In fact, Swami mentions very beautifully how Krishna is mentioned in the Gita, Name partasti kartavyam trishulokeshu kinchana. He says, I have no duty that can bind me in all the three worlds. Nanavaptam avaptavyam vartevacha karmani. So he says, but if I don't act, if I don't perform action, foolish people will look at me and think that, oh, he is not acting, so I will also not act. You have to perform karma action. So then the whole discussion on what kind of karma is, of course, a completely different topic. Then he says, of course, there's a very minor point. He says, Purusha Lakshanam. See, this is the characteristic of a man. Then Swami says, is it not for women? He says, the whole creation is actually woman, Prakriti. The Purusha is the only masculine. Everybody else is Prakriti, because go back to 3 minus 1 is 1. The entire creation is just a reflection on the mirror. The one person, the object is only one. All of us are feminine. We are just reflections of the masculine, the one Purusha that is existing. So then Swami goes on in chapter 9. He says, he re-emphasizes this. He says that Shiva is Atma and Atma is Shiva. He is the only Purusha, and the entire creation, Prakriti, is a feminine aspect. And then Swami goes on to say, it's a very sweet portion where he says, then he says, we are trying to do action here. And the Bhakta, that is also Swami, is asking Swami, why should I do action when I am destined to get this particular result? So he says, like, you're going to write an exam, and if your destiny is going to say that you're going to get 99 out of 100, and you're just lazing around and sleeping and saying that, yeah, I'm destined to get 99 out of 100 or 100 on 100, how will you get it? He says, unless you do karma, just by sitting, your destiny itself cannot be realized. So there is a very, very interesting concept here, because we hide behind the blanket of destiny. And he says, probably we are not destined to greatness, or we are not destined to success. That is a very wrong approach. Swami says that unless you put in the effort, he says, suppose you're having fruits in your hand, unless you take the fruit and put it in your mouth, how are you going to experience the sweetness? So that is one section where he's talking about destiny versus karma. And you all have done chapter 7, where in the presentation also I think there are some 40 guidelines. Swami says what you should do, what you should do, what you should do. I don't remember the number, but love God immensely, also seek the Atma, truth is the breath of man, have undiminished kindness towards all beings. So I think there are a whole set of guidelines, what we should do. But I think what we should remember is why we should do these things. What are we doing these things for? Because any action that is prompted by rajas, or prompted by anger, by ambition, by trying to show that I'm superior, aggression, that is going to shake and distort the mirror of Maya. So the reflection of God on the mirror is going to be very shaky. It is not going to be truthful. So any action that is prompted by tamas or lethargy or backbiting, these kind of actions, it is like covering that mirror with a black cloth. You are not going to see the reflection of divinity. Only sattva, and Swami says you have to go beyond sattva. Sattva is like the pure intentions. Only when you do actions with pure intentions, the mirror is plain and you can see the reflection of the Lord. So what we have to do is, all these actions are actually slowly taking us from tamas to rajas, from rajas to sattva. And what is the meaning of doing sattvic actions? What is it that a person who is doing sattvic actions experiences in the world? He sees divinity in everybody. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karunevacha. He's always loving towards everybody. And he sees only the divinity, divine force in everybody. So, unless you reach that stage, you have to involve in all these actions. You have to involve in all these different practices so that ultimately you reach there. And that, I think that is the essence of these do's and don'ts that Swami is giving in chapter 7. But Swami goes on to say, then the disciple asks Swami, if this is the ultimate union of Shiva Shakti, and if Prakriti is going to merge into Paramatma, that is so beautiful. Why don't you just grant it to everybody? And then Swami says, you think it is so easy? It cannot be granted to everybody, because he says, even for getting the anugraha or the blessings of God, you need to have the eligibility for it. Only when you have done lot of sadhana, when you have done lot of spiritual practices, you gain the eligibility to get God's grace. With God's grace, you can get realization in a second. But to get the eligibility for that, you have to go through so many things. And Swami says, here he gives an example. He says, going back to the sun is always shining. It is not as if we have to do sadhanas to get the grace of God. God's grace is always there. Our sadhana is to remove the ignorance or that which comes in between God's grace and us. See, because of our ignorance, we are blocking God's grace from reaching us. In Prema Vahini, there is that beautiful analogy. Swami says, God is like the Surya Bhagwan standing at your doorstep, but you have closed the door. You have not allowing the light, his light, to enter the room. So your room remains dark. The moment you open the door, give it a small slit, the light will rush in. So similarly, what Swami is saying is that once you remove all the obstacles, God's grace is always shining. It's always on you. And then Swami talks about the stages of bhakti. And this is also a very beautiful thing where Swami says, from bhakti, earlier than bhakti, it is a form of anurakti or affection. First, it starts with affection. Then it reaches bhakti. He says anurakti is the flower. Bhakti is the fruit. And it is ripe. When it ripens, it is jnana. And vairagya is the final stage when the fruit falls. So, it starts, the whole sequence starts with affection for the divine, and then you get devotion to the divine, and then you finally end up with jnana. There's for those of you who are interested in Advaita philosophy, when you read Ramana Maharshi, I read one of the books in which very, very beautiful point, one of the devotees is asking him, what is the difference between bhakti and jnana? You talk about inquiry. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? But everybody who's talking about bhakti, are they wrong? Then Ramana says, no. Then he says, don't you think these two have to meet in some place? He says, yes. He says, there is absolutely no difference between jnana and the final stage of bhakti, which is Atma Nivedanam. Swami tells us the different stages, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, the 9 stages of bhakti or devotion. The ultimate stage is Atma Nivedanam or surrender. And very beautifully, Ramana Maharishi says, there is no difference between the stage of Atma Nivedanam and inquiry of who am I. Both are the same. There's no difference at all. So what Swami is saying here is bhakti fructifies into jnana. Yes, there is no difference between bhakti and jnana, like the Mysore Pak that brother mentioned. There is no difference, but these are stages in our understanding. Actually, there is no difference. We can comprehend these things slowly. So step by step, we try to understand. But ultimately, all 3 are the same. And then there is a very beautiful section on silence. And silence is one of the sadhanas. Why you should keep silent. And Swami says how silence helps you to increase ekagrata, concentration. The whole purpose of silence is to get concentration or ekagrata. And this is something very, very, very dear to Swami. As students, when we were in Swami's college, he always said, who is a Sai student? A person who follows 2 things can be called a Sai student. One is talk less. And second is have less contacts. These were 2 things which Swami always repeatedly told us again and again. Talk less, have less contacts. He says, just because you're studying here, you may be a student of the university, but that doesn't make you a Sai student. If you have to be a Sai student, you have to have these 2 things. And anybody, anywhere in the world can be a Sai student if they follow these 2 things. Talk less, have less contacts. And I think silence is a very, very important spiritual practice. And Swami says, and he used to in fact explain to us, if you keep silence and if you keep maunam, you will get better concentration and you will get better marks in your exams because your concentration power increases. And when you are keeping silent, it automatically draws you into the state of dhyana or meditation. And in chapter 16, Swami has spoken so beautifully about dhyana. I'm sure when you have read it, it might have been very inspiring for all of you. What is dhyana? How you should do it? And for those of you, when you eventually read Dhyana Vahini, it's a very, very beautiful book. And Swami, in fact, says that chanting the name of the Lord and visualizing the form of the Lord is all that is needed in meditation. And this is a very, very unique approach to meditation, which you don't find everywhere. Swami is the one who has brought, in fact, there's this beautiful story which one of our brothers was narrating. When Swami was in Chennai, in Madras, in the 80s, so one of the brothers was sitting right in the front, and Swami was actually sitting in the chair and giving instructions for some of the prasadam boxes to be taken outside and distributed, etc. So this brother was holding Swami's feet and he was closing his eyes. Now, the moment Swami noticed this, Swami said, "Hey, kaiko sota hai? Why are you sleeping?" And then this boy didn't know what is. He opened his eyes, and then the warden came to his rescue. And the warden said, "Swami, no, Swami, he is meditating. This boy does a lot of meditation." Swami said, "No meditation, he's only sleeping." And then the boy was, he said, "Swami, please teach me what is meditation. I don't know what is meditation." See, this is the beauty of Bhagavan. He is in the midst of such a, active activity going on. People are taking the boxes from one side, they're taking saris, dhotis, everything, distribution is going on one side. And here is somebody asking Swami, "Swami, please tell me what is meditation." And on one side, Swami is giving instructions there, but on the other side, Swami looks at him, and the first question Swami asks, this is very, very important for all of us. Swami says, "तुमको इस शरीर, इस रूप में विश्वास है?" He asks, do you have faith in this form? Do you have faith in this form? And the student says, yes, Swami, I have. He says, then you can meditate on this form. I mean, look at the level of humility of our Bhagavan. He is here giving us everything, but still he gives that element of choice to you. If you have some other form of God in your mind, you are free to worship that or meditate on that form. But if you have faith in this form of the Lord as Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, you can meditate on that form. And then Swami says, meditation is very simple. Sit in a relaxed pose, chant Om, and then chant the name of the Lord. Slowly visualize the form of the Lord in the mind. Start with the hair, come to the forehead, come to the eyes, come to the bridge of the nose, come to the nose, come to the mouth, the smile, come to the beautiful chin of the Lord, and then directly come to his feet. So he says, see, I have worn this robe for your sake because it becomes very easy for you to meditate on this form. Imagine if a person has to meditate on the form of Lord Shiva. This is what Swami told. He has to think of the moon. He has to think of Ganga. He has to think of the snake. He said, oh my God, I forgot the third eye. Let him go. He goes back again. He comes down to the snake and again he goes back to the third eye. Oh my God, is his eyes open or not open? Where are you going to focus on? What are you going to concentrate on? So Swami says, the reason I have come in this particular form is so that it is very easy for you to contemplate on and meditate upon. So that is what Swami is talking about in meditation here also. And Swami gives a very, very simple but very, very difficult instruction. Do not change the time of dhyana. That's a very, very interesting instruction, because the place may not be in our control. You may have to travel at times. You may have to go. You may not be able to sit in the same place all through your life. But come what may, you can maintain the time of dhyana or time of meditation. It's again in your hands. You can reschedule everything in your life if you think that that time is important for your meditation. If you think that that is priority number one, your whole life can revolve around that. And you can maintain that same time for dhyana or meditation. So Swami clearly says, don't change the time for dhyana or meditation. That's very important. And then, of course, I'm not going to get into the details of the three beautiful chapters where Swami is speaking about Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Bhagavatam. Because he says everything that is external is actually internal. This whole creation, which we see as an external manifestation, is actually within us. And how Swami beautifully draws who is Krishna, who are the Pandavas, the eternal battle between good and bad, and Ramayana, who is Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Sita, and who is Hanuman. He says courage is Hanuman, and such a beautiful explanation. So that is something for us to read and to understand. And to remember that Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavatam are going on in our lives every day of our lives. Then Swami says the Bhagavatam is slightly different. It is the Leela of the Lord, and it is directly based on the Atman. So the Bhagavatam is not like the Ramayana and Mahabharata. And then he says the Bhagavatam is gunas have a beginning and an end. So the Ramayana and Mahabharata are itihasas, they are events. They are speaking about events in the life of avatars. But Bhagavatam is based on the endless, beginningless and endless Atman. So he says there is no beginning and no end for Bhagavatam. And that is so true, because today the Sai Bhagavatam continues and it is going to continue forever. The Lord Krishna's Bhagavatam, what we have read about, it continues to this day. There is no beginning for Bhagavatam. There is no end for Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam always continues. So that's what Swami is saying here. And then I'm not going into, because of lack of time, I'm not going into the details of who a true guru is. That is straightforward reading. Swami is talking about it in the chapter 15, where he's talking about who a guru is. Basically, Swami says A true guru is one who focuses only on the spiritual growth of his disciple or student or devotee. Nothing else matters to the guru. And then this discussion comes about as to, Swami, if the guru has to run an ashram, what happens? Swami says the guru should be focused only on the spiritual growth of his disciples. Automatically, the disciples and the devotees will come forward and do what is necessary for the ashram. And there should be no mention about money. So these are things very clearly Swami has brought out. And he says, if anybody in the says I'm a guru and asks for money, first you run away from that place. Swami says, don't go to such a person, because there are certain things which cannot be compromised. Which cannot be compromised. I mean, Prashantinilayam and Swami's organization is the only place where you can go free of cost for darshan. You can go free of cost for bhajan. You can go free of cost for a pravachan. You can go freely and listen to Bhagavan's discourses. Everything is given free. Everywhere else, you have to pay money for it. The highest wisdom is given to you in the simplest of terms. But we don't value it because we are not paying for it. So that is the game that the mind plays on us. But Swami says a true guru should never, bend towards charging money or worry about anything else except the spiritual growth of the disciple. So that is the section on gurus. And then Swami also says, who is a true sannyasi? A sannyasi is not the one who is wearing an ochre robe. He says the person who has given up all desires is a true sannyasi. And then there is this whole very technical portion in chapter 11 about the obstructions of past, present, and future. The Swami says Bhuta Pratibandha, then Vartamana Pratibandha, and Bhavi Pratibandha. So these are all very technical terms. These are the difficulties that the sadhaka faces on his path. And Swami has said what causes these problems and what causes you to overcome these problems as well. I think that is something you have to read and you have to assimilate and you'll have to ponder upon, because each of them we can talk for hours on. Like, for example, if you say Bhuta Pratibandha, that is Swami saying obstructions from the past. He says that is associated with the name and the form. See, we have a preconceived name and form. So you associate a person with that name and form. But that is actually false. Because that person is not that name. He does not have that form. Who he is actually the Atman. He does not have a name. So, these are all obstructions. The mind comes up with these obstructions. And because of that, we are not able to see the truth. So I'm not getting into the details of that, because that is a full discussion in itself. But I'll just conclude with what Swami says about a jnani. Because we have done what is karma marga, we have done what is bhakti marga, how bhakti fructifies into jnana. And I would like to conclude with what Swami says about a jnani. He says, for a jnani, how does a jnani see the world? Before that, he says eligibility for jnana. Swami says not all can go into this path of inquiry, because it is very, very subtle, and you need to have absolute peace, and you need to be absolutely truthful, because if you are not truthful with yourself, you can never go on the path of inquiry, because the first question is, who am I? And you have to sit and ponder on that deeper and deeper. And unless your mind is purified, Chitta Shuddhi is there, it is going to give you only distorted images. The mind will give you distorted images and you think this is reality, which it is not. So Swami says this path is not for all. Only those whose Chitta has become ripe, it is possible for them to go on the path of jnana. And then he says those who have equipped themselves, in the chapter 10, he says, those who have equipped themselves with the sadhana chatushchaya, that is the 4 means of practice, that is viveka, vairagya, sat sampati, and mumukshatvam. So these are again technical terms. Viveka is discrimination, vairagya is detachment, shat sampati is the 6 virtues, that is dhamma, sama, titiksha, uparati, and shraddha, samadhana. These are the 6 forms of the shat sampati. And mumukshatvam is the burning passion for realization or for liberation. So he said that mumukshatvam, that should be burning in you. Nothing else. No movie, no going to the mall, no shopping, nothing, no serial on Netflix or Amazon Prime, or going out and hanging with friends. Nothing should be as enticing or as interesting to you as this pursuit of liberation and this pursuit of self-realization. Are we really that interested in this path? I think that is the question that we have to honestly ask ourselves. And like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, if you are actually seriously interested, there is nothing that can stop you. Do you crave for God with the same intensity that a drowning man craves for a breath of fresh air? So if a man is drowning in the ocean, the way he's clamoring and is craving for air, do you crave for God? No. We are often satisfied with the distractions that the world gives us. I'm so happy when I wear a new dress. I'm so happy when I wear a new ornament. And I'm so happy when 10 people tell my post on Instagram is the best post ever. And I'm so happy when somebody praises me on social media. It is such a false world that we are living in. And so Swami says this mumukshatvam is very important. Unless there is this burning passion that nothing. There's a very, very interesting talk, if you want to see, given by Swami Sarva Priyananda. He is giving a talk to college students in IIT Kanpur. And there he gives the meaning of the word decision. So he asks a question. What time do you wake up in the morning? Suppose you say, I wake up at 4:30 or 5. Suppose I say I wake up at 5. What does it actually mean? You say, I have decided to wake up at 5 in the morning. That means you have decided not to wake up at 4:30. You have decided not to wake up at 4:59. You have decided not to wake up at 5:05. You have decided to wake up at 5 means you are removing all other possibilities. You're removing all other things that can happen. So when you say mumukshatvam, I am keen on this path, you are removing everything else. You are not keen on anything else. Does that make you a zombie? Does that make you sit in one place and with a glum face you have to sit? No. That is not how Swami wants us to be. You have to be active in the world, doing every action consciously, that this action is going to take me towards God. I am doing this action as an offering to God. So every action has to be done with that same passion. Not even once should you think that I am doing this action. Oh God, I'm doing this. Now somebody is going to praise me. Gone. Or somebody is going to curse me. The moment you are happy with praises, you are going to get the slaps as well. So you have to do it with that complete involvement, but do it as an offering to the Lord. So that constant integrated awareness which Swami used to speak about is what we should cultivate. And Swami says that is the state in which the Jnani is. Because the Jnani is constantly aware that this entire creation is just an illusion. It's just a delusion. There is only Brahman, in everything. The Jnani does not even see the world as something different. Everything is just one for him. So that is what Swami says. That is how the Jnani looks at the world. And maybe I'll end with this small segment. The Bhakta asks Swami, Swami, all this is very heavy. What happens if I do a mistake? And Swami says, it's all right if you do a mistake. And what is a mistake? A mistake is superimposing the false on the real. That is the mistake. So the moment you remove the superimposition of the false on the real, the moment you remove the idea that you are this body, you are the part of Prakriti, you are limited, you do not have the infinite power, that is Ajnana. So you're superimposing limitations on yourself, which he says is the sin. When you do not superimpose limitations on yourself, he says that is what is doing it right. And he gives this beautiful analogy. He says, when the sunlight enters it enters a bungalow through a mirror, and then it enters the eye, you see the sunlight. So also, the message from the Sandeha Nivarini, it has to shine on the mirror of the Bhakta. It has to come through the window to the bungalow of Sanatana Sarathi. And from there, the effulgence should spread peace and harmony to the whole world. Such a beautiful message that Swami is giving here. And he says, just like the sunlight reaches your eye, it is through the bhaktas that this message has to reach to the whole world. So I think these were some of the points that I had written down as a summary for chapters 9 to 17. We are already at 9:40, and I don't know if there is energy enough for any questions.
Sairam, everyone. Thank you everyone for listening so silently and very interesting discussion by Brother Sai Prakash sir. We are really grateful for everything. We thank Swami for this opportunity, for this excellent satsang with Sai brother, and we are also happy and ecstatic at this special satsang. And so today there are a few questions from our curious participants to Brother Sai Prakash sir. The first question is where is the I in the body, and how does it leave when the body dies?
See, from my understanding of what Swami says, the I is ever present always. It is what we associate the I with, which is important. The I is present all over. There is no limitation of time and space. Swami says, when you were a child, you say, I am Sai Prakash as a 5-year-old. As a 10-year-old, I said, I am Sai Prakash. When as a 15-year-old, as a 40-year-old, I'm saying, I am Sai Prakash. But the I is constant and it doesn't change. Your body has changed. And you may say, I like ice cream. But 20 years later, I'll say, I like a car. Your mind and your likes have changed, but the I remains constant. So the I is constantly present all over the body. It is not limited to one place or so. And how does it leave the body? It is basically your association with I, which has to undergo a change. If you associate that I with the body, then it has a death and a birth. But if you associate that I with the Atman, it is beyond birth and death. I think that is what Swami has very clearly told in this section.
The second question is, what should we do to not to identify with the body?
So this is a very, very fundamental and very important question, because how can you not identify with the body? I mean, we all are very, very sure that this is my body. Then Swami gives a very, very interesting explanation. He says, you're sure this is your body? How much of this body are you able to control? Can you control the digestion, the heartbeat, the thoughts, the secretion, the excretion, the circulation, anything? All the vital functions of the body are not in your control. And still you say, oh, this is my body. See, that is the way you should inquire. See, it is also not right to say, I am not the body. It is better to say, I am not only the body. Because you cannot say, I am not the body. Because Swami also says the body is like a temple. You have to keep the temple clean, inside and outside. See, because these are all different levels of understanding. We are talking about the last step in the ladder, but we are still in the first step of the ladder. So when we are in the first step of the ladder, we should talk and understand what is relevant in that step. But if you're standing at the base of the ladder and you are trying to experience what is on the top of the ladder, you will not reach there. So the first step is to logically understand that we don't have any control over the so-called body that we call ours. But this is also our body, which is like a temple in which God resides. So it is right to say, I am not only the body.
Thank you, sir. Question number 3. One of our participants, in their words, I am a bit confused on Jiva, individual soul, Atma and Paramatma. I thought Jiva and Atma were the same, but you said Atma is everywhere, even in a corpse. Clarify, please.
Yeah. So that is what Swami is saying, that Atma is beyond duality. So Atma does not have birth or death. Just because a body is... So Swami gives, in fact, that very beautiful analogy. He says, the sun's reflection is there inside the pot. Is the sun going to lament if the pot breaks? What is the relationship between the sun and the reflection of the sun inside the pot with water? So the pot with water is like our body, is like who we are. If we identify ourselves with the pot, if we identify ourselves with the body, then we are limiting ourselves. We think that when we die, the Atma is going to say, oh my God, this person has died. But the Atma is ever present. What goes from one body to the other, what we call Jivatma, for sake of understanding. In reality, there is no difference between Jivatma and Paramatma. But in the lower stages of the ladder, what we say is Jivatma is that spark of divinity which is present in all of us. And that mind, see, basically it is the mind with all the thoughts and desires that gets carried on to the next birth. You have unfulfilled desires. You have so many things you want to achieve. Many of your actions are not based on Sattva Guna. They are still in Rajas and Tamas. So God is trying to push you, saying, come on, go, grow. So, but one lifetime is not enough. So that is what gets carried on to the next birth. And you are born into a family which will further help you to grow spiritually. It could probably be a very well-to-do family, or it could be a family in which there are no means. Whatever is good for the growth of your particular soul, that is what God will give you. So that is another reason why we should not look down upon anybody. We should not look up onto anybody, because it is God who is giving them. It is the journey of each soul. As long as the soul, the Jivi is the soul, as long as the soul is deluded and identifies itself with the body, it is not going to have the ultimate emergence. Only when that delusion is removed, then there is no difference between the Jivatma and the Paramatma.
Thank you, brother, for the good clarification. And the next question would be, how do you remove vasanas besides sealing on desires?
See, vasanas are basically tendencies. Vasanas are tendencies. Generally, these tendencies are what are carried on from your previous birth, like we just spoke. Tendencies means what? Unfulfilled desires. Suppose you have a desire. Many of you who have read the story of the book Autobiography of a Yogi, you might have read that chapter where Yukteswar Giri is given the darshan of a huge golden palace studded with diamonds. Is it Yukteswar Giri or his guru? I think it is his guru. What is his name? So he is given the darshan of the huge palace. It was an illusion created by Mahavatar Babaji to fulfill that one desire which he had. That one desire which he had, he was given that darshan. So like that, the vasanas which are in us are some things, unfulfilled desires which are carried from previous birth. Now, how to get over them? How to get over them? So this is a very, again, you should see that discussion with, there's a talk by Swami Sarvapriyananda where he speaks about this. There is a sloka from the Gita which says, a person is driven to action by his vasanas. Again, when he performs the action, he is drawn into his vasanas again. That forms a karma for him to, so the cycle goes on and on. How do you come out from this cycle? And the answer Krishna gives in the next sloka of the chapter 2, one of the slokas, I think 24 or 25, I don't remember the exact sloka. He says, between the thought to act and the very act, there is a small window of raga dvesha. So he says, the moment you think, you get attached to that work, you take on that work as yours and you get attached to that, and your vasanas again bind you. The moment you are doing it with a detachment, you have that short, small window. So when you do it with detachment, then you say, then that accumulates. Slowly you start doing actions with detachment, and that is what helps you to come over your vasanas. So it is like, again, like what Swami says, there are two ways to empty a pot with dirty water. One is you just turn the pot upside down and empty it. The second is you keep putting clean water, so the dirty water comes out on its own. And Swami says, that is the way you should do. Keep doing good actions. Keep doing good actions. Keep being conscious of every action that you're doing. Then automatically the vasanas will get subdued and they will not affect you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I hope it's making sense.
Yeah, your clarifications are very well explained. I hope the participants are getting very good intuitions based on your clarifications.
That's Swami is not mine.
The next question is, what is chitta? Is it mind or heart? Because in many situations, we heard the translator saying heart, another says mind. So
there is, see, I think there is a difference between chitta and chittam, if I am not mistaken. But chitta is, see, there are two chitta. Satchit Ananda is different. That is a different connotation. Sat is truth, chit is awareness, and Ananda is bliss. That is different. But chit is a part of the mind. That is the antakarnas which form the mind. Manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. So these are the four segments of the mind. The manas is which dictates all the good and bad or all the activities that you do. That is called the manas. Buddhi is the power of discrimination. And chitta is the part of the mind which stores all the information from your past birth and all the information from your previous this thing. What intent, like vasanas. All the vasanas are all seated in the chitta. Ahankara is ego. And Swami says ahankara or ego is very, very subtle. It's subtler than the mind and subtler than buddhi as well. So mano, buddhi, chitta, ahankara.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. The next question is, we have to do sadhana to understand everything. So do we need to read all the Vahinis?
See, it is better than reading all the Vahinis. There is a very, I think Swami has mentioned it in one of these chapters as well. You're going to a mango orchard. Is it important for you to know how many trees are there, how many branches are there, how many fruits are there, and what age group the trees are? Or is it important for you to pluck a mango and enjoy the mango? So I think putting it into practice, starting with one Vahini, starting with one chapter, starting with one thought, one concept is itself a big step. I'm sure all of you know that story where Swami says how following one thing right is enough and automatically everything else follows. So that story of how a thief meets a sage. So what happens is, should I narrate the story? Do you have time for it? Very briefly.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay, very
please
briefly. So there was a thief who comes and meets a sage, and he says, and the sage says, see, don't you know that stealing is not right? And he says, but what to do? I've been so used to it. I cannot give it up. Then the sage says, okay, if you cannot give it up, take one value and follow it. What would you like to follow? He says, I'll follow speaking the truth. And so what happens is he goes to the palace to rob the palace that night. And there is another robber who comes. And they both go in and they rob the diamonds. So he goes into the treasury and there are 3 diamonds. And he says, we are only 2 of us. How will we split the 3rd diamond? So I will leave 1 diamond here for the king. And he will take 2 diamonds. He takes 1 and he gives 1 to the other thief. And the thief asks him, where do you live? Now he cannot speak lies. He has told the sage he will speak the truth. So promptly he gives his entire GPS and he gives him the Google map link and everything to the other thief. And so the other thief is very thankful. And he says, okay, you are a great thief. And they part ways. And on the next day, the whole palace is agog with this thing that treasury has been stolen. And the king says, I know where to find all the gold and the diamond. Go to this particular house and bring it. So now they go, they catch the thief and they say, are you the thief? Did you? He said, yes, I am the thief. He has to speak the truth. So he is brought to the palace. And the king asks, so where are the diamonds, the most precious diamonds? He says, see, there were 3. I took 1. There was a friend of mine who came. So I gave him 1. And since we cannot split, so he tells the minister, you go and see where the diamonds are. And the minister goes in and he says, there are no diamonds there. And then when the king asks the robber, he says, I am sure there is 1 left there because I took 1 and the other 1 I gave to my friend. And then the king immediately says, search the minister. And that is when they find that he is hiding the 3rd diamond. He thought, who will believe the words of a thief? And then the king says, I was the other thief. And immediately he puts the minister in the prison and he puts the thief as the minister. So Swami says, if you take one value or one teaching of Swami and follow it scrupulously, that is enough. It will lead you into everything else. It's all interconnected.
Thank you, brother. Hope we also follow at least one value what Swami has preached for so long, all his life. The next question, the question is from our brother Krishna. Entertaining Sandeha or doubts of all kind is also delusion. Swami also talks about the nature of Sandeha in terms of genuine ones and the ones springing out of the mad monkey nature of the mind. I think he says something along the lines of the fleeting doubts that just pass our mind have to be ignored, and the ones that tend to linger might be given some attention, etc. The ones that linger could also be due to our own overthinking. What's your take on and understanding of Sandeha or doubts? Sometimes doubts overpower conviction and it becomes difficult to filter the doubts. So just let us know your understanding of this Sandeha on Sandeha.
See, first of all, the um, very powerful mantra that Swami says, Samshayatma Vinashyati. So he says, the moment you have a doubt, you are bound to perish. You cannot have doubts. But does that mean that we cannot have any questions? See, questions is different from doubts. You can have a lot of questions. You cannot have doubts. I think there is a subtle difference there. Doubt is lack of faith. A question is lack of knowledge. So you can have a question. You want to know more. So the attitude in which that question is asked is very important. See, what is it that you want to gain when you're asking this question? Are you trying to question the knowledge of the Guru? Or are you genuinely wanting to learn? So see, all this, and it is the mind that keeps playing these games. So when you get a certain question in your mind, there are certain questions which are answered only through silence. Only when you're absolutely silent, you can the intuition will give you the answer. There are certain answers you may get by reading a book, or you may get by conversation with somebody. For example, if you look at the life of Ramana Maharishi, the most powerful question, who am I? Where did he get this answer from? Did he sit and read all the books? He just sat in silence. Ultimately, that is the most important question, who am I? So that question you can get answered to only in silence. Then what to talk about any other question or any other doubt? So in silence, you get a lot of answers. And I think it is all right to say that you pray to the Lord. He will answer your questions in so many different ways. Don't limit him. Don't say that Swami has to come in my dream and tell, only then I will take it as a right answer. Swami has to come as my friend and then tell, I have to open Satyam Sundaram and I have to find the answer there. I have to see Satyasai speaks. There are all these regular methods. Nowadays, we have got Swami Answer app. So I will go into the app and he will answer. Yes, he can answer through these ways also, but he can answer through many other ways. He can answer. So don't limit him how he should answer your question. To first of all, see whether the question is genuine, whether that question is important for you to grow spiritually. If it is just a gimmicky question, like suppose I'm just trying to say some question, some doubt whether so and so, which car that person uses. In what way is it relevant? Is that going to help you on your spiritual path? Then those kind of questions, pray to the Lord and he will give answers.
Thank you, brothers. I remember Swami mentioning doubting Thomases always, and he doesn't like who have any doubt.
Not like that. It is not
Yeah.
that he doesn't like. It should not be a question just for sake of asking questions. What is the intention behind that question? That is very, very important. Because in this very book, the Bhakta says, Swami, I have a stupid question to ask. Swami says, no, there are no stupid questions. In this book, in this section, Swami says, there are no stupid questions. It's very important to ask questions. But what is the intention of asking those questions? That's what matters.
One more question from our participant. If mother and father are in part of adharma, do you still have to serve them? if you say anything also, why they think they are on the part of adharma, they don't listen to us, and are they still our gurus, mother and father?
It's a tricky question, because Swami always gives the example of, see, what can be worse than the life of Prahalada? What can be more challenging than the life of Prahalada? If you were to sit and think about it, your own father is finding ways, new methods of trying to kill you. Your own father is trying to kill you. But have you read in any book, in any discourse, anybody saying that even once Prahalada shouted back at his father? Has Prahalada retaliated with his father? He's saying, how can you do this to me? Because he didn't have time to do that. He was constantly thinking of the Lord. So if see, it's always like this. You create the world around you. If your parents are doing something which is not in line with what Swami says, you have to do your best. Your respect for them should not change. But you may not like that particular action, what they're doing. That is different from your respect to them. Your respect to your parents can never change. It is only you can gently try to tell them that this is what Swami says, this is not right. Or lead your life with such conviction that automatically they see a change. I'm not saying it can happen in a lifetime. It may not happen in a lifetime. But what should be your attitude in such a situation? That's what it is.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. There is one more question from our sister Krishna. What makes spiritual aspirants egoistic and aggressive, which is very commonly observed among many?
See, the thing is, there's a very interesting section in this segment also, where Swami says visions are misleading. When you're doing dhyana or meditation, visions and experiences are very misleading, because they are not going to take you to the ultimate goal of dhyana or meditation. What happens is, somebody who has got a vision or has acquired a siddhi or a power, these are things that come to you because you're focused on a particular mission. Suppose you're focused on a particular puja and you've done that chanting repeatedly. There is a fringe benefit to it where you get some powers. But then again, in this very section in the book, Swami says, when you get onto the train, you should know which station you are going to get down at. You cannot try to get down at every station. So when you get onto the train, you should know which station you are going to get down at. So also, when you're doing dhyana, you should know what is your end purpose. You cannot get shaken and distracted by all the things on the way. So also, when people start the spiritual journey, they get access to some intuition. They get access to some kind of a power. There is definitely some kind of an attraction, because the soul is getting purified, the mind is getting purified. Now, if they are not sensitive and they are not conscious of that, not to get misled by that, they can become egoistic. The moment they start thinking, I'm so great. And Swami says, amongst all the 16 types, 8 types of pride, I think, Mada, he says the spiritual pride is the most dangerous. It's the subtlest and dangerous, most dangerous.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I think we have to think over so many of your answers that you have given.
No, Swami's
It might
answers,
be
please. Swami's
Swami's
answers.
answers, yes, and hopefully, I now pass on to Sister Krishna for the thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Purni. And when we started formulating Sai Anveshana and when we picked up all these books, Vahinis, we also had the speakers. It's not us, it's definitely Swami through us. And when it comes to Sandeha Nivarini, the first person came into our mind was you. And it is all with full of Swami's blessings and his guidance that we were able to reach this stage. And it is only his will and his blessings that we had you today for this session, enlightening us so many things that we found difficult to understand and answering all the questions. Of course, it's Swami through you. And thank you so much from all of us. Now it's time for us to get into the Sai Anveshana track for our participants. You're always inspiring through the answers that you share and the teamwork that you are doing, even with all the other Sai activities and your personal workloads. All the participants, most of them, you are all trying to match up with the timeline and sending all the answers on time. And thank you so much for that. And this effort is out of love for our beloved Swami. And Swami, we through these little efforts, we are making our beloved Swami happy, and that's what is important, and that's the main aim of Sai Anveshana. And thank you so much for that. With regards regarding the timelines, so we are going to have our the quest. So we plan to have our first quest, the divine quiz session, on the 29th of this month, that is today. But then we had little change of plans. So what we're going to do is that we'll be sharing a Google Doc, like a Google form or a document with all the questions. But this time, instead of teams answering each questions, we would like to have all the participants from the team answering each question separately. And we will score accordingly based on the number of participants who have responded from each teams. That's the first thing. And second one is our Bhagavata Vahini, the most weighted one. So we're going to start Bhagavata Vahini from April 1st onwards. So for one of the Bhagavata Vahini itself, the concept of Saptahamam came from Bhagavata Vahini. So we want all of our participants to have that bliss of reading Bhagavata Vahini within 7 days as well. So as a team, we did this and we found it really enlightening, not enlightening. We found it really encouraging, and it gave a bit of a bliss and peace by reminding ourselves, okay, we read this book within 7 days and we didn't read it. Swami made us read. So we had a schedule every morning from 6:30 to 7. We'll be on call. We'll be reading Bhagavad Vahini, 10 chapters. The same way, night from 9:30 to 10, we'll be reading Bhagavad Vahini, like how we did for Prema Vahini, how we did Prema Vahini Saptaham, in the same way that we're going to do for Bhagavad Vahini as well. So this time we'll be doing a group WhatsApp call. If we have requests from other participants, we'll probably share a link and we'll do a Zoom call. So each team will allocate each team for each day or each session to read the chapters from Bhagavad Vahini. So that's how it's going to be. So all the details we'll be sharing soon in the WhatsApp group. So please try to join the call, even if you're busy if you're getting ready to work, just be on the call, listen to what they read. It'll definitely give you some sense of satisfaction. And yeah, it's a different experience, which all of us should have. So that's why we have arranged this one. That's all from our end. If you have any other questions regarding Sai Anveshana or the upcoming sessions, please feel free to ask now. If not, please send us messages to WhatsApp. No questions, I believe. Oh, there's one more question here. Is it possible for us to ask one more question? We have got one question over there in the chat box. Do you still have time or?
Yes, sure.
All right, amazing. Thank you. So the question here is that if we don't associate ourselves with our body, the mind will not embark on the spiritual process at all. Swami calls this the fundamental ego. What is your thoughts on this, please?
if we don't associate ourselves with the body, the mind will not
Yes.
embark on the spiritual process at all. Why is that? I didn't understand.
Um. So it's from Brother Ram. So Brother Ramakrishna, are you there? If you want to, if do you mind unmuting yourself and asking the question? It's there on the chat box. All right. Okay. Yeah. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Sairam, brother, wonderful talk. Actually, so this was regarding. So like why I heard a talk where like initially the ego is defined as the thing where Swami says when we are born initially we ask the question koham, who am I, and the mind falsely associates us with the I, which is very pure, with the body, the karam, the aham. It associates with the form, which is the karam, and it creates that ahankaram. So that is the first level of ego. So when I so the very process of this where we associate ourselves with the body. So, if I don't associate myself with my body, if I say I'm the Atma, the initially itself the mind will not embark on this process of eliminating this ego. So I was just asking if
Now, see,
like
it's a very, very deep question, because as I said in the 1990 series, Swami said very clearly that ahankara is very, very subtle. It's subtler than buddhi as well. It's subtler than the power of discrimination. What does it mean? So, like you rightly said, we falsely identify the I with the body, and we are supposed to identify the I with the Atman. So, you are saying that if we do that, the mind will get confused, or the mind will not allow us to have ahankara, ego. Am I right? Is that what you're saying? Brother Ramakrishna is online still?
yes, bro. So I was just saying that initially, like the process of spirituality, like like so this ahankar, so mind has four aspects. So Swami's manas, buddhi, chitta, ahankara.
Right.
So and Swami says all these are the one and the same. And Swami gives the analogy of Brahmin. So when he's doing cooking, he's called Vanta Brahmin.
True.
When he's doing something, when he's doing puja, is called priest. So mind, when it takes different forms, it's called it takes different names. So the ego is verily the mind. So
Right.
the very process of spirituality is to convince the mind to kill itself. So to
Exactly.
so
That's the
so
point I was waiting for. Right.
so in this process, so we need to first understand that we need to first associate. We need to have the false association first, then convince the mind that this is false, no? Or
See, the very fact that we are not jnanis is that we are having the false association.
correct. Correct.
See, because we are having the false association, we are not jnanis.
Correct.
The moment we get that wisdom, there is no mind.
True.
There is no mind. See, the moment you get the mano nashana, that's what we discussed today. That state of liberation is when the mind is completely annihilated. So when the mind is annihilated, there is no mirror or maya. So there is only the Lord, there is only God, only the object, only the subject, sorry. So the question is, because we are under the illusion, we are not jnanis, we are still having this element of ahankara. Once we are jnanis, there is no mind itself, forget ahankara.
Okay. I was reading about this concept. There's fundamental ego, which Swami calls this like basic ego or fundamental ego, which
Yeah. So in fact, this is very difficult topic. Swami says, even those who are atheists can also get liberation if they are able to give up their body consciousness. If they're able to go beyond body consciousness, even they can give up. So what does it actually mean when you say going beyond body consciousness? If you take the lives of great saints like Ramana Maharishi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, and Swami himself in several cases, when the body is undergoing a lot of pain and suffering, they are cheerful. They are not bothered about the pain of the body, because they are able to live in a state of disassociation with the body.
Even while being in the body.
While being in the body.
Yes, yes.
So if you look at Ramana Maharishi, for example, he had that surgery where he said, I don't need anesthesia. He was looking at the doctors doing the surgery, and it didn't affect him because he was just able to disassociate himself from the body. The mind is so powerful.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. The yogi to whose talks you are mentioning is Swami Sarvapriyananda, right?
Swami Sarvapriyananda, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wonderful talk.
Thank you. Everybody is realized now? All questions are over. The mind is silenced forever.
Brother, Sairam, can I? Do you have like a couple of minutes? Because I mentioned the story in the introduction. Because I was preparing for an introduction and I chanced upon this story about you playing sitar and Swami singing along. Do you mind?
Yeah, actually, that was because then the next day was Ishwaramma Day. And so I was thinking that because the bhajan Ishwaramma Priyatanaya is in a raga which is early morning raga, Ahir Bhairav. And so I was thinking for the Ishwaramma Day, it would be very nice if I can play that song in front of Swami. And there were some of the teachers and the elders who were saying, are you sure you want to do this today? Because we have got a very busy day. Swami has got a very busy day. There is a Narayan Seva arranged in Kodaikanal every year on Ishwaramma Day. A Narayan Seva is arranged. Swami has so much work to do, organizing the distribution, as if handling the entire universe was not enough. So he had to even do this of handling this Narayan Seva. And so there was a lot of activity planned for that day. So they said, are you sure? I said, see, I will sit with the sitar in front of Swami's room, because that is how the Kodaikanal Mandir was organized, like structured. Right outside Swami's room, we would be seated. And the moment Swami comes out from his room, he would see all of us. And if Swami says yes, then I will play. Otherwise, I will not take it up and sit with it. So the sitar was kept down and I was just sitting. The moment Swami opened, he was so happy. He said, oh, you brought the sitar. Play. He was very happy. And then I played the bhajan Ishwaramma Priyatanaya. And then Swami said, hey, why don't you play Rag Hamsadhvani? So I played a piece which I had heard for Darshan music in Rag Hamsadhvani. And Swami said, no, not this, play Vatapi Ganapatim. And I said, Swami, I don't know that song. And then that is when Swami started singing it line by line. And I was following it on the sitar. And then Swami materialized this beautiful pendant with Ganesha, Lord Ganesha on it. And he gave it to me. That is how it was.
Beautiful. And you lost the bead or something, and then you got it.
So the pendant came with a bead hanging below it. And one of those years when, because there was so much of work in the mandir, I could not practice sitar regularly. Suddenly that bead was missing. And I searched everywhere at home. It was just not found. Then I thought it's gone. Then after probably a few months, I don't remember now how many months and all, or a year, almost a year, I didn't touch sitar. So it was not. And then when I started practicing again, suddenly one day it was found in the kumkum box at home. The puja, there is no way I would have gone and opened the kumkum box and kept the bead inside it, but it was found there. And so I realized that it is got to do with my sitar practice. So still trying to practice once regularly, but sometimes I fail in that.
Thank you so much. I mean, if we are to talk, we're going to talk for a long time because we have so many questions to ask. And I'm sure you also have so many things to share with us, your experiences. And it is indeed a blessing from our beloved Mother Sai. Thanks a lot again. And thank you for all of our participants for all the wonderful questions that you have asked. So it's time for us to say a short Sairam and Shanti, and we'll meet in our next session. And also, we would love to have you back again for one of our sessions because this is super enlightening. And yeah, let's see how Swami's plans works. And thank you so much. Let's close the session with Samasta Lokas and three Shantis. समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोका सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति शांति शांति। जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।